everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. This is going to be fun. So, recently we reviewed this. This is the ZD3 DAC from Fosi, and I love this thing. It's actually been my daily driver DAC in my main setup, and it uses an ESS chip. It's just a beautiful machine, sounds good. I love the form factor. As you know, I love orange, so I'm really digging the Fosi aesthetic. Well, recently they came out with this, the ZH3. What's the difference? They look awfully similar. Well, there is a difference. In fact, there's a hidden difference that's pretty major. You're not going to want to miss this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the studio. We have before you today and for your consideration, the Fosi Audio ZH3 Hi-Fi Balanced DAC and headphone amplifier. And it looks very similar to the ZD3 that we recently reviewed, but it's not the same thing. So on the Z series of Fosi equipment, that denotes that it has balanced inputs and outputs. So there's a whole series of Z equipment. Hear the unheard. And when they were putting this together, the thought process was to make it purely a headphone amplifier. Well, that's a thick manual. Multiple languages, though. But they did some focus groups, and the focus group said that they wanted it integrated with something else. So they decided to integrate the headphone amp project into a newer version of the ZD3, which is the DAC, the pure DAC and preamp version. So this has the DAC, the preamp, and the headphone amplifier all in one. And we've got our headphone adapter. We've got another one of these remotes. I could build a house brick by brick with all the remotes that look like that. An 1/8 inch to 1/8 inch gold plated. A nice heavy, there's two things here. A nice heavy AC power cord. This is a USB-C with a built-in adapter. These are cool. So it's USB-C to USB-C, but then it's got this cap adapter built in. And then it's like a laptop power brick. And, you know, the thing I think about with these, tell me what you guys think, is I feel like this thing is sucking power all the time when it's plugged in. And not having it switchable down here, I feel like the thing's just draining power and making your electrical bills higher versus something that, you know, plugs directly into the wall without that. Or even a standard wall wart. But maybe I'm wrong, but that's just my perception of that. And then we've got the device itself wrapped in plastic. Fosi Audio, hear, what did it say? Hear the music? Hear the unheard. Hear the unheard. And here is the device. This was also in there as well. So we'll open that up, see what it is. I have an idea of what that is. So I want to preface this by saying I am not an audiophile. Never have been, never will be, don't want to be. Just a regular guy learning the hard way, discovering things as he goes along, kind of a guy. I'm not going to go into all of these nuanced details about this product. I'm going to approach this very high level from the layman's perspective. That's what this channel is about, entry level, and you know, getting into the dedicated DAC and headphone amp territory is already sort of pushing it in terms of the scope of this channel. But I've really been enjoying DACs lately because it's allowed me to just unpack a level of clarity from digital audio sources that I didn't realize I was missing. I figured, oh yeah, CD sounds great. You know, how could you improve that? Well, I've been listening to my old CDs on some new DACs compared to the vintage DACs that I've, you know, gotten vintage CD players and stuff. And I'm just blown away. I'm just like, this is phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. Okay, so let's start off here. I'm going to compare these side by side. The form factor, I think, oh, it's not identical. Okay, I thought they were going to be like literally identical, but they are. There's little nuanced differences here. So besides the antenna, does this one have an antenna? No. So this one doesn't have Bluetooth, I don't think. So that's interesting. There's more different about these than I thought. And also, does that orange look a little bit different? And the knob is a little different too. That's really interesting. Also, if we're looking just, you know, form factor wise, this one has kind of a lip scallop, as you might say, on the top and bottom. This one has it only on the bottom. The screens look similar. The knobs looks a little smaller on this one. If we look at it from the side, it's the same kind of aluminum casing. The finish looks just a little different, a little shinier perhaps on this. Let's look on the bottom. So there's no bypass switch. That's interesting as well. Feel about the same way. Oops. Let's not ding them up against each other. And this is the type of preamp that attenuates a signal, right? So it's cutting it down. It's not adding volume. But what's really cool is that if you have a device connected to it, it does give you that volume control that you may not have otherwise. And why that's important is I have these wonderful Fluence AI61 speakers. I love them so much. But the volume control is stepped, and the increments between steps is too great. It's too large of a variance. So sometimes where I want to be volume-wise is somewhere between the steps, and this fine-tuned smooth control, this is actually stepped too, but it's way more granular, gives me the ability to hone in the volume right where I want it to be. So that's kind of what I was thinking. So they took the ZD3 and they added a headphone amplifier in it, but there's more to it. And it looks like we need to start around back to understand the differences. But there's something else that's not visible to the naked eye that is very different between these two devices. Let's go ahead and spin them around. Keep in mind the ZH3, H for headphone, D for DAC. So the ZD3 is on the bottom and the ZH3 is on top. In addition to the XLR outputs, you also have unbalanced RCA outputs as well as RCA inputs, analog inputs, optical in, coaxial in, USB in. So I mentioned earlier that I thought I knew what this might be. Some of the early editions of this shipped with a special edition knob. So I'm wondering if I have an early enough one of this that I got the special edition. Oh yeah, I think that's what it is. That's cool. That's really, really cool. The upgraded knob. What am I going to do with the old one? But that's really cool. Everything's, high quality metal construction. It looks like it will just pull off. I'm still somewhat nervous to do this, so let's try not to break it right off the rip. Yeah, it just pulls straight off. That was no big deal. Where'd the other one go? Okay, it rolled away. Okay, there it is. So let's go ahead and put the other one on. Yeah, that's cool. I like it. Instant upgrade. And now I've got this high quality aluminum heavy knob that's a pretty fancy paperweight at this point. It almost looks like one of our adapters. Our custom 45 adapters that you can order and should order by going to our eBay store, where you can put an order in for our chai latte, not pumpkin spice, chai latte and blueberry colored adapters, and it's available in style 1 and style 2. And don't forget our 2-inch Seberg adapters for playing your favorite store music background audio from the days of yesteryear. That was an amazing integrated ad. I wasn't even planning that. Okay, if you are interested in the specifications, you can go ahead and hit pause on your screen now and take a look at this. They make really good stuff. They really, really do. I've been using the ZD3 for several weeks now as my main listening setup DAC, and the one in the office. So that's the one I'm listening to most of the time. And I love it. It's got a great natural, transparent sound, and the detail it brings out in my music is noticeable, like I've said before. And so there's definitely something to be had. DACs are fun because where a vintage DAC that's built into like a vintage CD player will sound good, and there's nothing wrong with it per se, a newer DAC just brings out more detail and quality in that sound than was even there before. So it's like peeling back another layer, which is really, really cool. Let's go ahead and press and hold this switch/knob, and it brings us to our home screen there. I can actually switch to my iPhone to shoot this shot because the screen looks better on this camera with all the light on. It still looks more crisp to the naked eye, but this is a lot better than the Sony was making it look. So I'm going to be driving with this knob. Remember, it's a micro switch and a knob, as well as the remote control. Here's a look at the remote control. You can see all of the controls on it. All right. So let's go ahead and see. As to the bypass switch, I don't know where the bypass switch is located. It's probably menu-based, I'm guessing. I'm not sure. All right, so we are going to press the button to jump into the menu. So we've got 4 quadrants: input, output, bass, and treble. If we go further, we see gain, and then we go to UAC, which would be like the USB class, a filter, and bypass down here, and then it reverts back to input. So you've got more options than meets the eye at first. So under input, you can toggle between optical, USB, coaxial, RCA, and USB. So it doesn't matter what we're going to do right now. We can go to output. It's either going to be headphones or aux output, low. So low must be like a low gain or a low level output. And we're going to leave that at PO because this is really designed. The use case here is a headphone amplifier. So we'll leave it like that. Bass, you can adjust the bass. How far up can we go? We can add 5 decibels bass, or we can detract, I'm assuming 5 as well. Okay, so we'll leave that flat for now. Continuing on, treble might be the same value, might not. Yep, so we're going to do plus. Oop, no, this goes up higher. We can go up to 10 and probably minus 10, I'm guessing. If you go extra fast on the knob, it doesn't really speed up the increments there. So yeah, plus or minus 10, okay. Now if you remember, there was more than meets the eye in terms of options on this. So I'm going to select that and keep going here. Now we come to gain, medium, high, low. Keep it on medium for now. UAC, UAC, so the UAC class for the USB, if you want to make that adjustment. We do have filters in here, so let's see what the options are. Power, dynamic, neutral, balanced, extended highs, well-defined, natural, smooth, precision, analytical, perhaps. Power, dynamic. Yeah, okay, so we went around the horn. Interesting. I'll have to play with those, and then we got the bypass on or off. And I am not going to bypass. I want to experience this thing in all of its glory. And we're back to start again. Okay, for headphone connections, we have 2. We have the 4.4 millimeter, and we've got a 6.35 millimeter as well. And you saw that there is an adapter. So be advised, the smaller connection there is not 3.5, that is 4.4. Balance, something to be aware of. So what is that big difference that I was talking about between the ZD3 and the ZH3? They still look pretty dang similar, and they both are DACs at heart. So what is the big difference? The big hidden difference is this actually uses an ESS chip, and I love ESS chips. They're very transparent. It's a Saber DAC chip from ESS. I love that sort of super clear, ultra clarity, transparent sound of the ESS chip. But for this, the ZH3, they actually put in an AKM chip. Why did they do that? So I asked them this question. I said, why did you guys change the DAC chip out? And it kind of goes into the use case of this versus this. This is more of a reference device for your hi-fi. This is more of a desktop, plug in a pair of headphones, and it's got a slightly different use case. And so in order to differentiate it from this product, they went with a different chip. They went with the AKM. And the AKM chips sound good. A lot of people prefer those. They're not my favorite comparatively between the two, but still very interesting that they chose 2 competing chips for 2 very similar devices. Okay, and now it is time for me to spend some time with this device. I'm going to listen to various types of music and really just learn it by using it. And I will report back to you in the next shot and let you know what my thoughts are. Also, I wanted to show you my setup here. So I've got the unit connected to my vintage Sony 5-disc changer. I love that changer. It's a great unit and very similar to the way I was using the ZD3. So I'm looking forward to giving it a listen, and we'll see how it does. All right, I've spent a whole day with this thing, and I've listened to all sorts of music. I've listened on my hi-fi setup. I've listened on my headphones, my 105 headphones from Fosi Audio. They're fantastic, by the way. And I realize now that this unit is definitely differentiated from the ZD3 that I had before, more so than I thought. This is not just an upgrade to that or a new iteration of that or just a headphone amplifier on top of that. This is really a different product with an overlap. So think of two circles that intersect on a certain part, certain key aspects they intersect on, but others they don't. And I learned all this the hard way, which is the way I learn stuff. But once you go from headphone mode to line output mode, you lose your tone control, your bass, well, it's bass and treble, tone controls. You lose all of that. You lose your preamp functionality, so the volume control, it's fixed volume. And that can be frustrating depending on what you're doing with this. I personally, like I said earlier, love the preamp functionality of the ZD3 because my speakers don't have a very granular stepped adjustment. So ideally, the volume I'm looking for is between two steps, and the preamp functionality on the ZD3 was nice because I could hone it into the right spot. With this, the going into line output mode, I lose that. So I don't have a volume control on that knob. I'm pointing back there where it's sitting. So I do miss that functionality. That being said, the star of the show for this product is the chip, the AKM DAC chip. Now, as you know, I'm a ESS fan. I love its super clear analytical sound. And typically an AKM just sounds maybe a hair duller, but with all the different sound profiles and EQ modes that this has, I was able to find one that worked for me, and it was no surprise. It was the precise analytical one. Just sounds so good to me. But if you like maybe warmer tonalities, softer things, different roll-offs, then there are modes to suit various tastes, which I think is really cool because I can really mimic the sound of ESS that I like with this AKM chip. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's really, really cool. So the star of the show is that chip, and the best use case, in my opinion, was as a headphone amplifier. And I may go back to the ZD3 because I just love that preamp functionality, that volume control. Because when you go into line output mode on this thing, everything kind of locks up and the menu system becomes a lot more restricted. There's less you can do. It definitely stretches its wings in headphone mode way more than it does in line output pure DAC mode. Regardless, if this is in your price range and the feature set is what you're looking for, by all means, this is a great product. So I'll definitely give it 2 thumbs up for what it is. This is more preferential stuff now. Like, I prefer this because of this feature.
You're watching Record-ology.
All right, my friends, and that's going to do it. So I love both of these things, and I would say pick up either one, whatever one suits your use case. I think the value price-wise comparatively between these and others in the market is actually really pretty dang good. Physical build quality, ruggedness is going to be second to none, and I would highly, highly recommend it. Besides, the compact footprint will pretty much fit in anybody's setup. Anyway, my friends, that's going to do it for today. Don't forget our custom adapters. Don't forget our Halloween shirts, our $1 a month membership program, and a host of other cool and awesome things. We would love to have you along for the ride. If you enjoyed this video, would you consider subscribing, please? Give it a thumbs up. Tell your friends, all that kind of cool stuff. Heck, get a Record-ology shirt, wear it everywhere. My friends, that's going to do it for today. So happy record hunting, and we'll see you next time.